Myself, yes. Mr. Tanzi, yes.
Yes.
Mr. Baker Senior,
Yes.
Mr. Baker Junior,
Yes.
Mr. Haynes.
Yes.
Rock and roll. And so everybody knows this meeting is being televised live on YouTube and is being recorded. So let me go through and read the public notice. Notice is hereby given that a virtual remote continuance public hearing will be held at 6:30 p.m. on August 2nd, 2022 on the petition filed on Chapter 40B comprehensive permit by Shingle Mill LLC, care of Quantico, 41st Street, Bridgewater, Mass. 02324 to allow the construction of 236 units of residential housing, the project, within two 5-story buildings on approximately 29.33 acres of land located at 0 Pond Street and 152 Wilson Street, known as the site. The applicant is proposing 25% of the units to be classified as affordable per MGL Chapter 40B. The site is located on 0 Pond Street, Lot 13, Map 9, and 152 Wilson Street, Lot 68, Map 10. Copy of this application is available upon request electronically from the town clerk by dialing 781-871-1874. Press 1 for the town hall, then extension 6 for the town clerk. Email address, we already know that, zoning board of appeal, or contacting the zoning board of appeals, 781-871-1874, extension 1195. Talk to Deb. Okay. What did we receive? We received a letter dated July 29th, 2022. Shingle Mill Apartment, 0 Pond Street, 152 Wilson Street, Rockland, Mass. To your Chairman Rosa. This office represents Shingle Mill LLC, the applicant, with respect to its application for a comprehensive permit to construct apartment units at the above referenced properties. Please let this letter serve as our client's request to continue the public hearing from August 2nd, 22 to a date in late September 2022, as well as consent to extend the time frame for the board to close the public hearing pursuant to 760 CMR 56.053 through October 15th, 2022. We look forward to continue to work with the board on this project. Should you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact the undersigned. Sincerely, Walter Maroney, Esquire, CC, Attorney Galvin, and Judy Barrett. So they're asking for another continuance. Deb, we had talked about a specific date. You had coordinated with Mr. Maroney, and he was okay with the date in October. Is that correct?
October 4th, yes.
October 4th. And again, he extended through October 15th, so we're still covered. I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing for Shingle Mills till October 4th at 6:30. First boom. And to accept the letter to extend the closing of the public hearing till October 15th, 2022.
A motion?
I'll second that.
I got a second. All in favor? Roll call vote. Myself is a yes. Mr. Tanzi,
Yes.
Mr. Baker Senior,
Yes.
Mr. Baker Junior.
I'm a non-voting member on this one.
That's right. I forgot about this. This is a 4-member. Myself is a yes. Ms. Tanzi is a yes. Mr. Baker Senior is a yes. Mr. Haynes.
Yeah.
All right, we got that happening.
But do we request that someone, if they're gonna continue it again, to be at the meeting that night to explain all this stuff, why they keep continuing?
Yeah. The question that I have is, how often do we have to entertain these continuances? I mean, this has been going on for quite some time. This project has been going on and probably better than 2.5 years now, since before COVID. And, you know, I've got better things to do with my time.
No, believe me, dude, I hear you. I understand it. I am going to direct this to Attorney Galvin, who's sitting back in his lazy boy. And I'd like to ask a question when it comes to this, because based on what I can tell at this point, regardless of what happens, whether it's DEP changes the A zone or not, regardless of what happens, it sounds like to me, whatever they're going to do is going to be a substantial change from what they've already proposed. So to me, that sounds like it's almost a new application, because we're gonna have to start from scratch. But on the flip side, does it behoove the applicant to continue? Attorney Galvin, can you comment on that?
Sure. First of all, he's reducing the scope of the project while the public hearing is still open, and therefore he's permitted to do this. If the board renders a decision and then they change the project, there are some changes that require further public hearing, and there are some changes that do not. But, we're not at that stage. I can tell you this, if the board takes some drastic action and denies this project while this is in the process of being or evolving here, they'll just go to the Housing Appeals Committee and get that approved. So you can't act precipitously. You're doing the right thing by continuing this, giving them the chance. Look at it, you don't have to wait forever, but they've represented to us that they're trying to redesign this to scale this back. And it's apparent that there are some issues with that. Let's let it work itself out. And I understand that it's been on multiple times and people have to keep on, checking in here. Okay. But, the project isn't any closer today to being built than it was when they filed it. So let's, take it one step at a time.
You hear that? Mr. Baker Jr., talk to me.
Yeah, it's more a general procedural question here, although with some application to the matter before, or that was just before us. It's my understanding that we set our agenda. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. That being said, and I don't know if anyone from Shingle Mill or representing the applicant is here tonight. If not, then they are just assuming in submitting a request for a continuance that we're going to grant that.
They are, but they also know that if you deny it, they'll go to the state and basically deal with it that way, and you'll lose control over the project.
Well, so essentially then, at least for projects of this type, we are not in control of our agenda. They determine what's going to be heard and when it's going to be heard.
Well, you're in control while the matter is before you. But if you refuse to give them the extension or you act precipitously, you will lose control and it will be brought to the Housing Appeals Committee and they will take over control and they will take over control of the project.
Okay.
It just sounds like if they do go to the house, the way that I'm looking at this, it sounds like if they do end up going to the Housing Appeals Board, the Housing Board, they'll turn it around and they'll play it as, oh, well, we were trying to scale down the project, but unfortunately, the zoning board looked at it and said, yeah, we're just going to deny it right now, and they didn't give us a chance to actually reduce the size of the project.
Yeah, but consider too, Mr. Chairman, that as far as I remember, there was no reason given on the request for the continuance for the continuance. So I don't know how they can say reasonably that, well, we were wrong because they didn't give us a chance to redesign the project, whatever they might be planning, when they never told us that's what they were doing.
I'm going to say this was several continuances ago. They did kind of address that. They said that they were in the last formal meeting that we had with everybody. They did tell us that they were trying to reduce everything.
Right, but that was meetings ago.
You're right. That was several meetings ago. And then the first continuance request after that, it did say in the letter that they're still continuing to try to redesign this, that, the other thing. I'm only assuming that they think we're looking at it and saying that, okay, we're giving them the chance, continuing to give them the chance to redesign.
But that's what they were talking about, the DEP filing and all that stuff. And they said they would have some kind of an answer about 6 meetings ago. And they still don't have it.
Right.
So
I think we should put them on the floor and say, hey, what are you doing to move this along?
Why don't we just ask them to prepare to come to the next meeting on the 4th and explain where they are, regardless of whether they intend to go forward or not.
Yeah, that's fine. And if everybody's happy with that, at least some representative from the team should be able to be here and explain kind of what's going on. Even if it's just, we're still in the redesign phase, we're having a problem here, that, the other thing. And you got to remember with DEP, what they're trying to do, they're trying to change state law. As far as I know, it's not a wham bam, thank you, ma'am, to change state law. I
Well,
don't know, but
Mr. Rob, I don't think they're trying to change the law. I think they tried to convince the DEP that the tributaries that the DEP identified as, which the DEP bases their maps on, is inaccurate. And they had a meeting with them in the field, and they pitched their case to the DEP, and the DEP said, no, these tributaries are there and the map is accurate. Now they're trying to get the DEP to change that map.
right.
And the DEP is saying, basically, we've already looked at it. It is what it is. So I don't know if the applicant is stalling and buying time and hope there's a change up in the DEP, that somebody retires or quits or moves to a different department, and then they can make the same pitch to a greener group of people in the DEP. I don't know. But these maps, they have been, the DEP, I know of a case where the DEP has actually changed their map and expanded the zone A around tributaries. And then the applicant called out there was a private individual who was driving this, and the applicant was able to prove that this private individual had tampered with that tributary, and the DEP wound up changing the map back to its original case. And the DEP was very, very upset with that individual, and that is considered an act of terror. When you tamper with a reservoir or a tributary to a reservoir and try to alter it, or
changing the waterways,
or what's that?
are we suspecting them of changing the waterways?
No.
We're not
I'm just making a statement. It's a
Okay.
very serious, the DEP takes their tributaries to reservoirs very, very serious. And, and so do I. And I'm convinced that those tributaries are where they are in the field based on what the DEP has come up with. Now, the DEP my experience is the DEP is amenable to changing maps if it's legitimate. I think, because of this.
Hey, Greg, I'm gonna
Incident
have to cut you off here.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before. We have no local bylaw that regulates what they can and can't do in a zone A. We don't have that. The zoning board can't talk about it. There's really nothing we can talk about when it comes to zone A.
If it's a state regulation, we have jurisdiction over it, and
No, we don't.
they can't waive it. They cannot
Greg, we
waive a
don't.
state
We
state
don't.
law.
We don't. We only have jurisdiction over local bylaw. That's it.
No, that's not true.
That is true.
They cannot waive a state statute. They
I'm
have
not saying that they can't. I'm not saying that they can't. But we can't, we have nothing that we can stand on when it comes to a local bylaw. They can't change that.
Mr. Rosa, we can obligate them to comply with federal and state standards.
Exactly.
We have the ability, if there is a matter of local concern that outweighs the regional need for affordable housing, to require them to comply with some local regulation. But it has to be a very serious issue. And we just have to wait, and we're just speculating, and it's not a good use of our time to speculate.
That's what I'm trying to get at. You know, it's as far as all the research that I can see at this point, when it comes to this zone A, zone 2, whatever the heck it is, the Conservation Commission are the ones that are really going to be looking at this and should be looking at this. You know, this is not us. You know, and at this point, we're wasting time even talking about it because we don't know what's happening on the state side or on the applicant side. They're not here to tell us.
Well, we've continued the hearing, so it's best that we cease the discussion now. We had a little bit of preliminary, but you know, we have an open meeting law, and you know, we're going to continue the public hearing. We'll talk about all of this in the next public hearing.
Exactly. All right. So at this point, we've continued. We've got other things that we got to take care of tonight. What do we got to take care of tonight?
Minutes.
Minutes. Look here. Approval of minutes. Everybody got a chance to go over them?
Yes.
No,
Who said no? Who said no?
I said no.
All right. Did you check your email?
Yeah, I see it now.
I'll give you a few minutes to go over it.
All right, thanks. Yeah, sorry, I came just before I got out of work and did that time between work.
Believe me, it's understood. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. Both sets of minutes, Mr. Galley, you were a voting member on, correct?
I was voting on, for the first one, I definitely know I voted on. Oh wait, yeah, did I vote?
Yeah, I think you were here. Mr. Haynes was not available.
Yeah. Yeah,
All right, so again, in this vote for the minutes, Mr. Galley is gonna be voting on that.
the internet gets correctly read my phone. All right, thank you. I'm done.
I need a motion.
Motion to approve the minutes for the July 19th, 2022 meeting.
As written, and I got a second as written. Both everybody
written.
as
Yeah.
written. Okay, roll call. Myself is a yes. Mr. Tanzi,
Yes.
Mr. Baker Senior,
Yes.
Mr. Baker Junior,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Galley.
Yes,
Up and roll. Deb, all set?
Mhm. All
Okay. Anything else we want to talk about, non-deliberative or anything like that?
What do we got for our next meeting?
That would be nice.
Next meeting's September 6th.
Number 6.
I'm sorry, August 16th. We
August
have
16th.
630 Summer Street, looking for a variance for an addition.
Dimensional variance, yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Am I the only one out that week? I thought we had somebody else.
Yeah,
had a
I'm out.
vacation.
I'm out too. I won't be available.
I won't be there.
That's 2 out. So, Galley, you're out.
I'm out.
Yeah, I thought we did this roll call 2 meetings ago.
Could we, has that been advertised yet?
yes.
So what are we left with? We're left with Dueling Bakers.
The
and
Bakers
myself,
and you.
correct? Okay.
Three.
Attorney Galvin, does that constitute a quorum?
You're going to have 4 members of the board.
Great.
Three.
That is a quorum of the board, but it is not sufficient for you to grant any permits or variances. You need 4.
So could he have the meeting and continue
You
it?
cannot have a meeting because you won't have enough members to vote.
Deb, question, are they the only ones on?
Yes,
Can anybody participate remotely on the phone? Any of the 3 that are not going to be kicking around?
I will not be
In
able
the
to.
sticks, I can't promise reception. I can't promise internet.
Okay. That's why you go there. I understand. I do the same thing. Mr. Tanzi, are you going to be in an internet zone?
I don't know. I don't know where exactly I'll be.
Are you going to be in the country?
Yeah,
Okay.
but
Are you going to be in New England?
no, no.
All right, so, if you don't have a quorum of the board, we need to talk to the applicants and work out another night.
When are you all
Remember,
coming
all
back?
the public hearings have to be opened within 65 days, and variances have to be acted on within 100 days, or they're constructively approved. So we need to get another date that
That's the
everybody's going
biggest
to be there.
problem, and that's why we had to have the meeting set up, at least get it going at this point. When are you guys back and available?
I'm just gone that
The
week.
next week.
Just
All right,
that
so
week.
the next week you guys are all back.
Correct.
Okay. Between Deb and Attorney Galvin, can we make that happen?
I can make it, but
No, I mean, it's already been advertised. That's my problem.
well, yeah, I'll talk to Deb and we'll reach out to the applicant and tell them the issue.
Okay.
Deb, I'll talk to you tomorrow about it.
okay, I'll call you in the morning.
Okay.
All right, and we got that, so we're gonna try and modify the next meeting. What else? Anything else?
Motion adjourned.
I got a motion, I need a second.
A second.
I got a second. Roll call, myself, yes. Mr. Tanzi,
Yes.
Mr. Baker Senior,
Yes.
Mr. Baker Junior,
Yes.
Mr. Haynes,
Yes.
get out of here.
All right.
Good night,
Thank you all
everyone.
for coming, I appreciate it. We'll talk to you, next meeting.
Okay.